imagine that you have a track hoe with a very large bucket, and you went out to this quarry and you were going to make a scoop of rocks and gravel and pea gravel and sand and clay and water. You got this giant scoop and you dump it into a truck or something, all right, a dump truck. Well, it's kind of like you have this massive outcross. You've got all kinds of traits in there with a tremendous amount of variation. But let's say that there are certain things that you're going to look for. Let's say that you want that middle-sized rock. You don't want the big rocks, and you don't want the pea gravel or the sand or the clay or the water. So what are you going to do? Well, you have to figure out a way to isolate the traits that you like. So you're going to run that through a screening process. Well, let's make it a little bit better example. Let's say you want the pea gravel. So now what you're going to do is you're going to drop all this muck through a filtration process. And that first filter is going to just be like a fence. You're not going to have very good netting. It's not going to be that fine coffee ground type of filter. It's going to just get those big rocks out. So the first layer just gets the big rocks out. Well, the next filter is going to be a little bit smaller hole, and you might get the regular gravel out. And then your next filter is going to get your pea gravel out. And then your finer stuff is going to pass through there. And then you'll have another filter where you can get your sand and clay out maybe. And then you'll have another filter finally where the pure water comes through. Now, so now what you have done is you've been able to isolate a separation of these traits. So you're going to have some big gravel, some medium-sized gravel, some pea gravel, some rocks and sand, some sand and clay, and then some water. But there is still going to be some contamination in the other layers because it's not always what's called homozygous. Homozygous means you turn something pure. Homo means the same. So in this filtration process example, the water is just water. It's homogeneous. The sand and pea gravel layer is just sand, the sand and clay layer is just sand and clay. It's homogeneous. The pea gravel layer is just pea gravel. It's homogeneous. The larger rocks, the gravel, it's also just gravel. It's homogeneous. And then the large rocks you have again is just homogeneous. Well, this is what happens when you line breed. You end up what's called making an increase in homozygosity, which means the genes become similar. Now, it's not a perfect example because there will still be some heterozygous individuals, but the more you filter it, the more generations you go through, the more homogeneous it becomes. And so, if you're looking for certain genes, that first time you do a line breeding or an inbreeding, you're going to concentrate the good with the good and the bad with the bad, and you'll also have some individuals that are good and bad, and some individuals that are bad and good. So what you can see there is you basically, by isolating the good individuals, instead of having the massive diversity that you had before, now there's an increased chance that the good individuals are sharing increased homozygosity for those desired traits. Then if you do it a second generation, you're again going to increase the homozygosity for those desired traits. If you do it a third time, you're going to again increase the homozygosity for those traits. But the problem with inbreeding and line breeding, if you do it for too long, is eventually you might actually lose a certain trait or desired trait, or you might also have captured a trait locked in with the good genes. You may have also captured another area where you've locked in some bad genes. And this is what line breeding and inbreeding does. So, but there you go. I hope this